At the moment of his transfiguration, Christ shows his true self, which he otherwise kept hidden from his own and from the world. For the Son of God has the blessed vision of God from the moment of conception in the virgin womb, and not, as John Paul II believes, 11:187, only from the moment of the death on the cross. How much the union of grace with God already shine in a little person is proven by the case of Saint Joseph of Cupertino. This Franciscan was so dear to Christ that he not only granted him miracles, prophecies, and ecstasies, but also made him shine in his cell in such a way that people believed that the saint was wasting quantities of expensive candles. How then Christ, the source of all grace, must shine? So it was his normal state that he was kept hidden, because he did not want to make it too obvious that he is the Son of God. Blessed are those who do not see and yet believe. But why did Moses and Elijah appear to him? Elijah was one of the forerunners of Christ. In a judgment of God on Mount Carmel, he won the victory over the priests of Baal, whose 450 he killed, thus consolidating the endangered faith in Yahweh. Persecuted again, an angel strengthened him in such a way that he was able to cover the distance of the Mount of God, Horeb, in 40 days and 40 nights, fasting of Christ. 3 Kings chapter 19, verse 8. His successor, Eliseus, sees him riding in a fiery chariot toward heaven. 4 Kings chapter 2, verse 11. His personal return was considered a sign of the coming of the Messiah. Matthew chapter 17, verse 12. Elijah was one of the greatest prophets, and in this office he represents the future vicar of Christ, Peter. Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt into the promised land. God revealed himself to him in the burning bush. I am who am. Exodus chapter 3, verse 4. The journey of the Israelites lasted for 40 years, fasting of Christ, and they were fed by the manna, Eucharist. Moses' function was that of King of the Israelites. In this office he represents the future emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. This is also seen in the 8th stanza, now deleted, of the sequence of the Mass in honor of Charlemagne, in medieval Latin. O Rex Mundi Triumphator, EU P Congregnator, Sis pro nobis ex corritor, Sancta Pater Carol. O King of the world, Triumphator, Jesus Christ, co-ruler, be for us an intercessor, O Holy Father Charles. Then God the Father himself reveals his Son. Hic est filius meus. This is my Son. The Father recognizes his Son. Delictus, beloved. The Father loves his Son. In qui mihi bene complacui. In whom I am well pleased. The Father delights in his Son. The Father recognizes, loves, and rejoices. This is the fulfillment of beatitude. For once, on this point, St. Thomas is not quite clear about the capacities of the human soul. For example, he says, quote, the essence of beatitude consists in the act of the intellect, but in the enjoyment of it in the will. Essentia beatitudinis consistit in actui intellectus, sed delectatio eius in voluntate. Book 1, question 26, answer 1. 29 questions further he states, quote, Beatitude is the enjoyment of God. End quote. Beatitude est frutio Dei. Book 1, question 95, answer 4. Then he says, quote, Beatitudio est gaudium de veritate. End quote. Beatitude is the enjoyment of truth. Books 1 to 2, question 3, answer 4. And, quote, Beatitude requires 3 things, namely the sight of God, the understanding, and the enjoyment. End quote. Ad beatitatem tria requirerunt. Scilicet visio Dei, comprehensio et delectatio. Books 1 to 2, question 3, answer 3. Once the joy is in the will, then it will be in the truth, and then finally it is its own object. He seems to say, the will strives for the truth, and in blessedness it rejoices over it. Thus then, the vision of God is fulfillment of the will, the understanding is fulfillment of the intellect, and the rejoicing consists in the fulfillment. This is the view of the one-eyed man who sees 3 dimensions as 2. But the cognition is one, and the frui, the enjoying, is another. The will is one, the frui, the enjoying of the received is another. The Latin word for wisdom leads us further, sapientia. In this word there is sapere, to taste, to smell, to feel, to understand. To know is just not identical with wisdom, but only a part of it. If one does not want to throw the entire classical philosophy overboard, then one will have to start from 2 premises. First, every potency, every ability is defined by its own object. Second, the 3 highest goods are bonum, verum, et pulchrum, the good, the true, and the beautiful. There is hardly any discussion about the object of the good, to which the faculty of the will is assigned, and the object of the true, to which the faculty of the intellect is assigned. But what about the object of the beautiful? Apart from 2-dimensional forms of philosophy in which the equivalence of the beautiful with the true and the good is denied, not only all of antiquity agrees on the trinity of bonum, verum, et pulchrum, but also liturgy. The bonum of grace and the verum of proclamation would, after all, be available in a street suit in a living room or meeting hall, but is unthinkable in the entire tradition of the Church. The pulchrum has in the liturgy not only the role of clothing the good, but rather, the liturgy is the beautiful pulchrum. Hence the ancient belief that we have received it from God, just as the sacraments bonum, and the gospel verum. The beautiful cannot be only a form of the good, because the sacrament and the gospel are part of the Holy Mass, the liturgy, and not vice versa. How essential this is shown by the ancient rite of the consecration of the temple, preserved in the consecration of the Church. The augur establishes the center of the temple, concentratio. Then he walks the whole extent of the temple, meditatio, away from the center. Then he goes back to the center, contemplatio, temple. This corresponds exactly to the spiritual life and the Most Holy Trinity. In prayer to the Father, concentratio, bonum, our Father. The meditation of revelation, meditatio, verum, Christ. And the following contemplation, contemplatio, pulchrum, Holy Spirit. As Thomas says, quote, beauty is in the contemplative life in itself and essentially so. Pulchritudo est in vita contemplativa per se et essentialiter. Book 2, second part, question 108, answer 2, add 3. See also Book 1, question 5, answer 4. To the beautiful corresponds the reflexive faculty of the soul, neither will nor understanding, but what may very well be called mind and contemplation. It is certain that the human soul has its own capacity for the beautiful, which has been too often downplayed. Beauty, the pleasant, attracts us. Quote, how do I believe in the will when I am attracted? Also by pleasing you are attracted. End quote. Augustine, Tract 26 in Johannam. Quomodo voluntate credo se trahor, etiam voluntate traheris. Completely beautiful are you, Mary. Beautiful is she in her beatitude, in her immaculate heart. Toda pulchra es Maria.